Hey everybody, Ron Riggs here. I've been wanting to do this for a really long time. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, channels I subscribe to a lot, various different topics, and I've always wanted to do this. I just think YouTube has so much to give to people. There's so much educational stuff on here that it's crazy. I wish my dad had been around when this was going on. He was a woodworker. And I've kind of picked up all his woodworking equipment and everything like that. I've been dabbling at it for probably the past 3 or 4 years, and so I've got a lot of projects that I want to make, and I also want to do some videos. So this kind of all fits, hand in glove. So I'm going to be doing an acoustic guitar. I'm working on that now. I'm actually already in the process of recording the videos and that type stuff. I'm going to also make a bandsaw mill. Just something about being able to cut up your own wood just kind of fascinates me. So I'm going to be doing that. And then of course, if you cut the wood up, you've got to have a place to dry it. So I'm also going to make me a solar kiln. Thanks to Virginia Tech, I believe it is. They've provided everybody with all the information of how to build a solar kiln and all that stuff. And then I'm also going to be building a regulation size shuffleboard for my basement. I'm going to, the other thing too is my shop. If y'all saw my shop, you would think, oh my God. But you've heard the old saying, don't mess with my mess, it's my organization. Well, that's my organization. So I do plan to improve in that area quite a bit. I may do a real quick shop tour at some point and show you what I'm dealing with right now. I've got a lot of equipment out there that is just kind of in my way, so I'm going to have to redo everything. So I've got that coming up. I've got a lot of things that I'm going to be doing here in the very near future that I'd like to be able to put on video and maybe help everybody out, kind of give back to the YouTube world. So I'll be doing that here soon. On this first video here, I'm going to be building a Dreadnought acoustic guitar. And I've done all the design work. Everything, is pretty well done. The drawings are done, everything like that. So the first phase is done. It's time to start the construction phase coming up here very soon. You'll see the videos. Okay, I'm building my first guitar here. I have the 2 pieces at the top. Of course, it's a spruce top that I need to joint both edges. All right, and when I get done with that, when I put these together, I shouldn't be able to see any daylight between. A little bit of work will get that done. I do have a fairly large gap here that I've got to try to get jointed out of here, so I'm going to have to take about a 1/16 of an inch off, probably a 32nd off of each side. Make sure I keep the grain lines parallel with my joint so that when once I've got this put together, I don't have any grain lines running off the board or anything like that. I've designed this. I've actually did all the drawings and the design work on the guitar myself. I wanted it a certain way.
I do have a template here that I'm using for this guitar. I've laid this out. This is actually a little larger than probably most dreadnoughts are. I've got about 16 3/8 of an inch on the lower bout here. A little bit different pattern than a normal dreadnought, but I did that because I wanted to try to see if I could get as much sustain out of it as possible. Don't want too much sustain. That can be a bad thing too. It's all in the different type of quality that you want. If you have a smaller guitar, the sustain might not be quite as long, but if you're playing, picking real fast, you don't really want the sustain to be a long sustain. You want the note to go away every time you pick a note. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there. What I've got here, I've got an old table saw. I'm using this because I know that as ugly as this looks, I know that it's true. It is good and flat. It's probably the flattest thing I have. And I've got a strip of sandpaper here that basically I'll run the edge of my board. I'll work all the gap that I've got out of it by moving it back and forth just like this to sand a little bit off at a time. Again, like I was saying earlier, I want to make sure that I keep the grain lines running parallel to through the full length of the top. I don't want to have any of the grain lines running off. And if you're curious, I'm using about 120 grit sandpaper here. I don't want to take it off too fast. Don't have that much really that I need to take out. I think I've got about a 32nd of an inch that I need to get off of here, and I'll do this to both halves and then join them together. Before I do the glue up, I will put them on some light and look through and make sure that I do have all the joint good and tight everywhere, running the full length of the top. So I'm going to do this real quick. Okay, I've got these all jointed up. I've got both edges really straight. They both turned out really well. I did stick it up to up to the light, up to the window, and check to see if I had any light coming through, and I don't. Everything looks really good. So once I get this all glued up, you'll never know there's a seam there. And there's different ways you can do this. If you want to use a shooting board with a plane, you can do it that way. But for me, it seems like I have better control over doing it with sandpaper and a flat surface. You always want to make sure that your surface is flat, otherwise you're going to put a curve into the piece of wood. So anyway, it all worked out really good. I do have it all, pretty well ready to go. I'm ready to glue it up. I've got the wax paper on. That's all ready to go. I'll talk a little bit about the glue I use. I do use Titebond glue, Titebond 2 specifically. It really works well for what I'm doing here. There is a lot of the old timers that use the hide glue. I do have hide glue that I will use for part of it. I'm going to run a bead of glue down the edge. Alright, rub it in good. I do use plenty of glue anytime I glue two pieces of wood together. And I do put glue on both sides of the joint. Move this over here for a moment. Get this one glued up. Any of the excess glue, I try to get that off as I can. Most of the glue I will leave on from where it squeezes out. I'll leave that on. So I can wipe this glue off. All this excess glue I will get off during the sanding process. Make sure I got glue, good coverage of glue on both joints, on both halves. Try to run that up to full length and then drop it in. About like so. So I've got those in, then I'm going to start tightening these up, put a little pressure on the sides, or from side to side. I'll push it down, make sure it's good and flush there. Okay, get that good and snugged up. I do have squeeze out. That's a good thing. Now I'm going to slide my wax paper in. again, any glue that I get on here, I'm not going to worry about, because I've got, I still have to thickness this. All right, once I've got it like that, I'll push this down, make sure we are good and flat with the board. I'll start dropping these down to hold it in place. I can feel that joint with my fingers, so I know about where it's at, where I need to push down. And I'm going to feel the joint. That's good and flush there. Good and flush there. All right, got those all down good and tight. That all feels good. We're good and flush. I'm going to tighten up the joint. Okay, I can see sort of through the wax paper, see what's going on. I can feel it. The joint feels good. Yep, that looks good. So I'll let this set and dry overnight. I've got the back to do yet. I'll do the same process on the back. Right now it's about 200 thousandths thick. All right, I want to get it down to somewhere close to 100 thousandths. And I know there's a lot of debate that goes back and forth about how thick the top should be. You know, I'll know more once I get it down to around 100 thousandths. I'll do the tap tone test and make sure that I'm getting the tonal quality out of it that I think I want. And then again, you know, once I get the bracing put on it, I'll know even more, do the scallop bracing on it and get them carved down. So I've got all the bracing that I need to make. I do have the wood for that. I've got to get that done. I also need to do the back. I'll follow the same process I used on the top part. You know, I'll do that on the back as well, and put the bracing on that and get that all done. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to thickness this down. You know, I'll use a plane and also sanding, a lot of sanding, and get all the marks out of it and get it good and smooth. This was the end that was closest to me. I need to thin this down a little bit. I need to come back in the other direction and get this thinned down. And then we've got another gauge I'm gonna check this with here in a minute. See if I can get the thickness. I'll find out what the thickness is across the entire board. But for now, yeah, we're still a little bit thick. About 110 thousandths on this end. About 150 thousandths on this end. A plane, the rest of it I'm going to sand, see if I can get it down to where I need it to be, and then I'm going to check the thickness throughout the center of it and everything. right, that looks good there. Get that all done. Cleanup to do. through and set this up, and I'm going to go ahead and route the outer diameter of this. I'm making it roughly about I'm making it 3/4 of an inch, which is going to allow for a 4-inch sound hole, and then about 1/8 of an inch between the rosette and the edge of the hole on each side, and then about 3/4. Okay, I've got everything set up for the outside hole, or outside slot. For the rosette. Everything looks good there. Okay, here we go. I'm going to route the outside ring of the rosette. Okay, that should be all set up. Make sure we're good here. Put you right on top of it. Yeah, it may take 2 passes. I may have to readjust one more time. Probably clean that up with a chisel. actually the end of part 1. If you would, please click the subscribe button down below and click the thumbs up, and then also share this. And then keep checking back. I will be releasing the next video here within just a few more days. So thank you everybody for watching this, and I appreciate it.